Shadows on Fifth Avenue Act 2. The morning sunlight streamed through the tall windows of Innocent Until Proven Guilty, casting long streaks across the polished hardwood floors. The office smelled faintly of coffee and old books, a comforting mix that Haley Sullivan maintained with military precision. Phones rang at a steady pace, and Haley moved between answering them and coordinating the day's schedule with her usual calm efficiency. Daniel Reeves leaned back in his leather chair, his long legs stretched out, dark hair slightly tousled from sleep, and a half-empty coffee mug in his hand. He reviewed the message flashing on his screen. Ethan Vickers requests you as his attorney. Haley, he drawled in his smooth southern accent, voice carrying that casual authority that made him both intimidating and likable. Fetch me Spencer. We've got ourselves a little New York pickle. Haley didn't need to ask twice. Within minutes, Spencer Creed strode in, a tall, broad-shouldered man whose salt and pepper hair and lined face spoke of decades of experience. His dark eyes scanned the office with an almost surgical precision, lingering briefly on the law books and photographs pinned to the corkboard. "Morning, Daniel," Spencer said, voice calm and deliberate, dropping his coat on a nearby chair. "Vickers, huh? Heard the kid got picked up this morning for that Fifth Avenue incident." Daniel chuckled, swirling his coffee. "Heard you're keen on jumping to conclusions, Spencer. Let's go meet him." The drive to the precinct was short, traffic surprisingly light. Spencer's hands rested on the wheel, and he didn't speak until they pulled up outside the stark, gray building of the Manhattan Police Department. "Kid's nervous. That's obvious. But nervousness ain't guilt. I'll bet $1 he's got a story, and we need to hear it before anyone else paints him guilty with broad strokes." Daniel nodded. "Story, yeah. But we gotta figure out if it's plausible. And I tell you what, if there's one thing I've learned in this city, it's that plausible stories are rare as hen's teeth." Inside the precinct, they were escorted to a small, dimly lit interview room. Ethan Vickers sat hunched over the metal table, hands gripping the edge. His hoodie was still damp from the morning chill. The second he saw Daniel and Spencer, his eyes widened, a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Mr. Vickers?" Daniel began, setting his mug down. "Daniel Reeves, attorney at law. This is Spencer Creed, my investigator." He paused, leaning forward slightly. "You asked for me. Now I'm here. Tell me everything." Ethan swallowed hard, voice shaking. I was walking to get breakfast. I never went near the car, I swear. I didn't touch anything. I didn't." His words stumbled over themselves in panic. Spencer gave a slow nod, noting every tremor and twitch. "Let's slow down. Step by step. Start from the beginning. Where exactly were you? Who did you see? Any details, even the small ones?" I came out of my apartment on 46th. Walked down the street. I saw a guy run past me, but I couldn't see his face. Ethan paused, voice cracking. "Then the police showed up. I tried to keep walking, but they grabbed me." Daniel leaned back, tapping his fingers against the table. "So the cab driver saw a guy in a dark jacket run into an alley, and now the cops think that's you. Anything else about this mysterious runner?" Ethan shook his head vigorously. "No, I swear. I didn't know him. I didn't even know the guy in the car. I was just walking." Spencer scribbled notes in a small pad, his brow furrowed. "We need to verify your route, any witnesses along the way, surveillance footage. Also that watch, was it yours?" Ethan blinked. "No. Never seen it before. I don't know how it ended up there." Daniel's lips twitched into a half-smile. "Kid, we're not buying fairy tales. But neither are we letting you fry without digging deeper. Spencer, I want a full canvas. CCTV, foot traffic, alleyways. Every angle. Let's see if our guy matches someone else." Spencer nodded, already flipping open his notebook. "On it." "I'll start with cameras near the scene and check the nearby shops for anyone who might have seen something. And fingerprints, we gotta see if anyone besides Ethan touched that watch." The arraignment was set for the next morning. In a Manhattan courtroom, the air always carried a tension that settled heavy on the shoulders. Daniel and Spencer arrived early, paperwork in hand. Bailiffs checked their IDs before letting them pass through the metal detector. The courtroom smelled faintly of polished wood, ink, and fear, a scent Daniel had grown oddly fond of over the years. The judge entered promptly, everyone standing in deference, the gavel echoing as it struck. Case number 342-178. People vs. Ethan Vickers. Please be seated. The clerk handed over the file to the bailiff, who placed it on the bench. Daniel rose, tipping an imaginary hat in his southern drawl. Morning, Your Honor. Daniel Reeves here on behalf of Mr. Vickers. He pleads not guilty. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman with a rigid bun and a voice that cut glass, stood. Your Honor, the people are prepared to present a strong case. Based on eyewitness testimony and forensic evidence found at the scene, we request that bail be denied. Daniel's eyes twitched with humor, though he remained solemn. Your Honor, my client has been cooperative, maintains his innocence, and has no prior record. We request reasonable bail, sufficient to ensure he remains available for court proceedings. Ethan's hands fidgeted, and Daniel placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Breathe, kid. You're in good hands. The judge reviewed the documents, tapping a pen thoughtfully. Considering the charges and the evidence submitted, I will set bail at $50,000. Mr. Vickers is to remain in compliance with all standard court requirements, and must not leave the jurisdiction without permission. The gavel struck again. Bail is granted. A collective sigh of relief escaped Ethan. Thank you, he murmured, barely audible. Outside the courtroom, Spencer leaned against the marble railing. Daniel, this bail isn't a victory. We need to see if there's another guy who fits the description, or if fingerprints on that watch match someone else. Otherwise, we're looking at a kid who might be wrongly accused. Daniel chuckled, slapping Spencer lightly on the shoulder. Relax, partner. That's why we're the dream team. I got my courtroom antics, you got your eagle eyes. Together we're gonna peel this onion layer by layer, and honey, there's a lot of tears in this onion. But that's how we find the truth. Back at the office, Haley had prepared a secure folder for Ethan's case, complete with background checks, crime scene reports, and witness statements. Daniel leaned back in his chair, scanning the documents. Kid's got a story that makes sense, but it ain't airtight. That watch, that footprint. Spencer, I want you tracing everything. Every step, every corner. And I want a map of all possible routes that could prove he didn't touch the car. Spencer's eyes glinted with determination. Already on it. This is gonna be interesting. As evening fell over Manhattan, the city lights flickered on one by one, illuminating the streets where a young man's fate was hanging in the balance. Outside, traffic moved on as usual, oblivious to the intricate dance of investigation, law, and human error unfolding behind the courthouse doors. Ethan Vickers returned to his apartment under a protective bail condition, haunted by the morning's events yet strangely relieved. He didn't know it yet, but tomorrow the real battle would begin, the one where truth, clever maneuvering, and tenacity would collide inside a courtroom. And Daniel Reeves, ever confident, was already plotting his first move. Somewhere between humor and cunning, the wheels of justice were about to turn. The flicker of city lights reflected in Daniel's eyes as he whispered to himself, "All right, kid, let's make magic happen."